Order. Alors, statements by members, déclaration de députés.
The honourable member for Repentigny. Mr. Speaker, the issue of pay equity is near and dear to my heart, and this issue touches me deeply, first of all as a woman, but also as a union activist, where I worked on the fight that took place within the Quebec Public Service over some 10 years, and that gave women recognition that they provide equal pay for equal salary. Obviously, I would have greatly appreciated participating in the committee proceedings. Unfortunately, for a party whose very name highlights the importance they grant to democracy, a party that calls itself a progressive opposition, it is unfortunate to see the great elasticity of the NDP's principles and its MPs. In effect, the citizens of Quebec have the right, just as the rest of the population does, as a full and complete representation on the part of their members, including the million people who are represented by the Bloc Québécois.
Member for Bay-Quinte.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As this is my first opportunity to rise in the House, I want to thank my constituents from the new riding of the Bay of Quinte for the trust and confidence they have placed in me. My riding consists of the cities of Belleville, Quinte West, as well as Prince Edward County. It is a great honor to be the first MP to represent this riding. I would like to congratulate all my colleagues in this House for their victories. I encourage all members to come and explore the spectacular Bay of Quinte. It will not disappoint. I rise today to recognize the important work being done by Gleaners Food Bank and Tri-County Warehouse. This past weekend, I was pleased to attend their fundraiser, which raised over $23,000. What began as a pilot project in 1986 now distributes food baskets to over 150 non-profit organizations. In 2015 alone, they distributed almost 9,000 food hampers across the area. I know all members can appreciate the important roles organizations like this play in addressing food insecurity. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Lethbridge.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to celebrate the astounding achievement of two young men in my riding of Lethbridge, Alberta. In the wake of the 2010 Haiti earthquake, JR at the age of 10 and Dawson at the age of 9 wanted to find a way to help their newly adopted brother who was stranded in an orphanage in Haiti. The solution was the creation of a company called Screamin' Brothers Ice Cream, which is a frozen treat made from fair trade ingredients and dairy and gluten-free. With sales of over 500,000 this year and a national distribution agreement, these young men are proven entrepreneurs. They literally had the investors from Dragon's Den throwing money at them, asking them to partner. 5 years later, these brothers continue to give 5% of their profits back to charity on an ongoing basis. I would like to congratulate JR and Dawson for being nominated for the Young Entrepreneur Award in 2016 Alberta Business Awards of Distinction. These young men remind us that regardless of age, with a huge dream and determination, anything is possible.
Okay. The honourable member for Coquitlam, Port Coquitlam.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to speak for the first time in this place as a member for Coquitlam, Port Coquitlam. I would like to express my appreciation to all those who helped bring this about. First and foremost, I'd like to thank my wife, Christine, for her unfaltering support over a decade along this path, where the outcome was never certain and sometimes seemed very remote. I thank my daughters, Catherine and Sarah, for their own enormous and unfailing support, as well, even going so far, so I'm assured, as voting for me. I thank the members of my riding association, a sometimes small but always hardy bunch, who helped keep the lights on all those years, and the campaign team, less small but equally hardy. As the campaign unfolded and we grew in number and determination, we also became a family. I thank them all for their friendship and their huge support. But the biggest thank you goes to my constituents who placed their trust in me. It will be my mission and honor to justify this trust.
The The member for New Westminster Burnaby.
I rise today to wish all Chinese Canadians and all those who celebrate the Lunar New Year a happy New Year of the monkey. In Chinese tradition, the monkey represents good humor, resourcefulness, and wit. These are also Canadian values. May this year of the monkey bring good health, peace, creativity, and opportunities for all. I'd like to wish all Canadians of Chinese origin, including my spouse Li Mei, Gong Hei Fat Choi.
Congratulations and be prosperous. I wish everyone a Happy New
And I'd
Year.
like to take this opportunity to express my gratitude and appreciation to Canadians of Chinese, Vietnamese, and Korean descent, as well as to all Canadians who celebrate the Lunar New Year. From my incredibly diverse riding of New Westminster Burnaby to all of Canada, thank you for your immense contributions and for your continuous efforts to make Canada better for us all. Come on, kamsahamnida.
Thank you.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for London North Centre.
Mr. Speaker, as I rise to address this House for the first time, I must express my sincere gratitude to the residents of London North Centre. I am extremely humbled that they have entrusted me to be their Member of Parliament. Mr. Speaker, in my riding, the Bethany's Hope Foundation is celebrating its 20th anniversary. This not-for-profit foundation was established by Dave and Lindy McIntyre in 1996 with the goal of finding a cure for metachromatic leukodystrophy, or MLD. This disease usually leads to early death in children. The McIntyres lost their little girl Bethany to MLD in 2000 at the age of 7. To date, Bethany's Hope has invested $4 million into their cutting-edge research program in London, Ontario, under the guidance of Dr. Tony Rupar. I commend this organization for giving hope to those battling with the devastation of MLD. I encourage all of my colleagues in this House to congratulate the Bethany's Hope Foundation on 20 years of fighting for those suffering at the hands of this terrible disease.
The honourable member for Lévis-Lotbinière, who choose to be caregivers for one of their families, and people who are recovering from illness or an accident. These people give generously of their time in order to...
Le micro n'a pas été ouvert de bon temps, alors j'invite l'honorable député de recommencer.
The microphone wasn't open at the proper time, and so I invite the member to restart. Mr. Speaker, today I would like to pay homage to all of the people who choose to be caregivers for a dear family member or a neighbor, someone who is aged or sick from an accident or an injury. These people give generously of their time in order to carry out these responsibilities. They physically take care of these people, give them medications, give them medical help, and are a moral support to these people as well as physical support. It's for 25 years now. There are people in my riding with various organizations who serve and help. It requires a great deal on the behalf of the people who are providing this help. They have to remember to take care of themselves as well, because no one is immune from burnout. So I salute these people for their faithful work. The honourable member for Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to recognize the work of the municipality of Saint-Valentin, which has made itself known through its St. Valentine's Day Festival. This is now its 22nd edition this year, and I want to congratulate all of the volunteers involved who allow this municipality to be the capital of love. More than 1,200 people take advantage of the special cancellation stamp offered by the St. Valentin Post Office. I invite my colleagues to take this opportunity to show their love for their Valentines. We want to continue to highlight and encourage the work of our rural municipalities to raise their profiles and to make their resort destinations and regional products known. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
L'honorable député de Saint-Léon.
The Honourable Member for Saint-Léonard Saint-Michel. Mr. Speaker, I invite my colleagues to recognize the exceptional contribution of All Points Bulletin Television. This public interest television station is entirely dedicated to the search for suspects and missing persons, as well as crime prevention. APB daily supports the work of our police forces. In 2013, the RCMP revealed that more than one-third of their deprivation of liberty cases have been resolved thanks to the broadcasting of bulletins on the APB channel. This is precious partnership they have. As an example, the Sûreté du Québec, the Ontario Provincial Police, the Canadian Association of Chiefs of Police, Enfants Retour Québec, and Aboriginal Women, in turn, have all praised this channel. Mr. Speaker, I invite all of my colleagues to show their support for APB so that they can continue to support police forces and all of the Canadian population for many years to come.
Honourable Member for Calgary Forest Lawn.
Mr. Speaker, on February 1st, I attended the Independence Day celebrations of the Republic of the Union of Myanmar. Our Conservative government was at the forefront in pushing for democratic reforms. I visited Myanmar twice, first as an international election observer representing Canada, then I led an all-party delegation to support Canada's contribution to advance democracy. Former Foreign Minister Honourable John Baird also visited Myanmar, where he conferred honorary citizenship on Aung San Suu Kyi. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, it was heartening to see this honorary Canadian citizen enter Myanmar's parliament as its leader following its historical election. Much work still needs to be done. Myanmar's constitution is military drafted and many powers continue to be retained by the military. Mr. Speaker, we extend to Aung San Suu Kyi and her government our best wishes as she continues to bring full democracy to Myanmar. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member for Laurentides-Labelle. Mr. Speaker, exactly 100 years ago, February 3rd, 1916, a fire erupted in the reading room here in the centre block of Parliament, destroying the building except for the library and causing 7 deaths, including that of the member for Yarmouth, Mr. Bowman Brown Law, and the Deputy Clerk of the House, Mr. Jean-Baptiste René Laplante, who was a member of the Quebec Bar and had served in this chamber from 1897 until the day of the fateful incident. Mrs. Florence Bray, Mabel Morin, Constable Alphonse Desjardins, his uncle of the same name, and Mr. Randolph Fanning also died. Today, several descendants of Maître Laplante's family, the Desjardins family, and other families of the victims came to Ottawa to commemorate the tragedy. Mr. Speaker, remembering this incident, that we are using the temporary wooden mace today that replaced the original mace destroyed in the fire. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
An honourable member for Don Valley East.
Mr. Speaker, the week of February 1st to 7th is World Interfaith Harmony Week, or WIHW, as proclaimed by the UN General Assembly in 2010. The aim of WIHW is to promote harmony between peoples of all faiths. Last year, the WIHW Toronto was placed 3rd in the world out of over 900 international organizations for its programs and outreach. I would like to pay particular tribute to the founding and steering committee members such as John Vopassel, Khadija Kanji, Sid Aikida, Paul McKenna, and Michelle Singh for the tremendous amount of work they have done in promoting the message of peace and harmony. Through their efforts and outreach, WIHW activities for 2016 have grown across Canada. Mayor John Tory has proclaimed the first week of February as World Interfaith Harmony Week in Toronto. Love of God and love of thy neighbor is the motto of WIHW, and I hope we all embrace it. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Richmond-Arthabasca. Mr. Speaker, I would like to take this opportunity today to remind the House that this week is the 26th Quebec Suicide Prevention Week with the theme, "You are important to us, suicide is not an option." As we all know, life goes by at a blistering pace, but sometimes we forget to pay special attention to the people around us. And yet, no one is immune to suffering, and listening is a key factor in suicide prevention. Every day, 3 people commit suicide in Quebec, 10 in Canada. Family, friends, and colleagues at work are not the only ones who suffer. Entire communities are affected by these deaths. Unfortunately, we all too often experience this drama in solitude and in silence. Suicide Prevention Week is an opportunity to talk about this and disseminate resources for assistance. Having said that, I encourage you to actively commit to working in your own environments to increase awareness amongst family, friends, colleagues, and employees, as well as all of the people you represent. Together we can prevent suicide and make a difference.
The honourable member for Humber River, Black Creek.
Mr. Speaker, 100 years ago today, our Parliament was forever changed as a massive fire engulfed Centre Block, destroying everything, save for the library. Despite the efforts of Ottawa's firefighters, security soldiers and staff, the blaze raged through the night. By morning, Florence Bray, Mabel Moran, Constable Alphonse Desjardins, Steam Fitter Alphonse Desjardins, Randolph Fanning, Assistant Clerk René Laplante, and Bowman Law, the MP for Yarmouth, had lost their lives. Undeterred, though, and in true Canadian fashion, Parliament resumed the next day with a promise to rebuild. Indeed, the MPs refused to yield to this tragedy. Today, we remember those who perished on that fateful night 100 years ago, and we recognize the determination and spirit of those who picked up the pieces and rebuilt this great symbol of our democracy. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Essex.
Mr. Speaker, just a few weeks ago, a group from the Windsor and Essex region, including Terry Weymouth, Noura Fawaz, and Dan Brown, produced a short video encouraging more women to pursue work in fields that are greatly underrepresented by women, such as trades. Entitled Because It's 2016, it was released on YouTube and has since enjoyed over 14,000 views. The video shows bright, enthusiastic, capable women in jobs such as firefighting, policing, welding, plumbing, engineering, scientific research, computer programming, and manufacturing. I urge all in this House to find ways to encourage women in their communities. Together we must challenge sexism and traditionalism and push for equal opportunities for girls and women to pursue any career path they choose. As a country, we do ourselves a great disservice to continue labeling careers with gender. I ask my colleagues to stand with me to continue the fight for equity and never stop forging the way forward so all women can prosper and succeed. Mr. Speaker, whether it's the House of Commons floor or the shop floor, I am proud to stand with my sisters.
The honourable member for Lanark, Frontenac, Kingston.
Mr. Speaker, the burning of Parliament 100 years ago today was recorded by Hansard in the following words. 9 p.m. At this time, Mr. C.R. Stewart, Chief Doorkeeper of the House of Commons, came hurriedly into the chamber and called out, "There is a big fire in the reading room. Everybody get out quickly." The sitting was immediately suspended without formality, and members, officials, and visitors fled from the chamber. Some of them were almost overcome by the smoke and flames before reaching a place of safety. Hansard then records the phoenix-like rebirth of the House the very next day. Vendredi 4 février
Friday, the 3rd of February, 1915, rather. And the moving words were pronounced by Sir Robert Borden and Sir Wilfrid Laurier, whereas the ashes on the hill were still warm. The mace here represents the tragic day.
He's immortal.
The honourable member for Scarborough North.
Mr. Speaker, next week, Canadians will mark the new Chinese Lunar Year.
Dinners, lion dances, and the exchange of red envelopes to celebrate the Year of the Monkey. Mr. Speaker, the monkey is a curious and clever creature whose virtues are a source of inspiration as we continue to shape a strong and prosperous Canada. It's also a time to reflect on the significant contributions that Canadians of East Asian descent have made to our country's economic, cultural, and social landscape. As a Chinese Canadian, I am proud to live in a country known for its richness in diversity. That is something we all cherish and we should all be proud of. As we mark the Lunar New Year with festivities from coast to coast to coast, let us look forward together to a future filled with good health, optimism, prosperity for all. From my family to yours, 新年快乐，恭喜发财. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much.
Oral questions, questions orales. L'honorable leader de l'opposition.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition. Mr. Speaker, Canadians know that projects like Energy East create good quality jobs. Today, TransCanada announced an agreement with ABB Canada that will create 210 direct and indirect jobs in Quebec. But the Prime Minister is insisting on putting new obstacles in the way. With all the jobs that could be created, why isn't the Prime Minister supporting Energy East?
Honorable Ministre des Finances.
Honourable Minister of Finance.
Speaker, I had the opportunity to be in Alberta a few weeks ago and to meet with members of the oil and gas community, and they reinforced for me the incredible importance of getting their resources to Tidewater. We've had 9 years of failure in getting resources to Tidewater. We are not going to take that failed approach. We're taking a new approach to get social license so we can actually move resources to Tidewater and improve our economic situation.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, I talk to a lot of Albertans and they know exactly who's standing up for their jobs, and it's this party. Continues to grow. Yesterday, the Saskatchewan Urban Municipalities Association passed a resolution with overwhelming support for Energy East. That's 479 local governments in Saskatchewan. Alberta is hurting, but Saskatchewan is hurting too. Why can't the Prime Minister finally show workers he cares and support Energy East?
Honourable Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, we recognize the enormous challenges facing Albertan families, facing families in Saskatchewan, facing families in Newfoundland because of the significant change in the price of oil. The Prime Minister tonight will be in Alberta meeting with the Premier of Alberta. He's going to be talking about ways we can work together to deal with the economic situation. I just want to say that the Minister of Infrastructure, the Minister of Veterans Affairs, my caucus colleagues from Alberta, from Saskatchewan, from Newfoundland, are incredibly strong advocates for families from those communities.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Well, Mr. Speaker, let's talk about who supports Energy East. The Liberal Premier in New Brunswick, the Conservative Premier in Saskatchewan, the Liberal Premier Ontario, and of course the NDP Premier in Alberta. Right. Why this all-party support? Because this is about jobs for people who are suffering.
Honourable Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, we have said repeatedly in this House that we realize that we need to help those organizations that are producing oil to get it to Tidewater. We are working hard to do that. We are setting up a process that will get social license so that we won't have the same failure that's happened over the last 9 years to actually deliver on the promise. We're going to deliver for this for Canadians.
The Honourable Member for Bellechasse, Les Etchemins-Lévis. Mr. Speaker, the energy sector is plummeting, taking along with it over 4,000 job losses, while the Liberals are piling on obstacle after obstacle to projects such as Energy East that will supply places in Lévis. Instead of supporting the economy, the government is trying to dig our future generations into deficit? Why is it turning its back on the energy sector and the workers in Lévis and the families who depend on them?
The Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I recognize there's enormous challenges for people in Alberta. We know that we need to work together with people in Alberta, we need to work together with people in Saskatchewan, we need to work together with people in Newfoundland. I spoke last week with the Alberta Minister of Finance to talk about ways we could work together. A good example is the Stabilization Fund. They will be putting forward a request so that they can get up to $250 million from this fund. We believe that's an important first step. We'll be taking other actions in Budget 2016.
Yes.
Honourable Member for Bellechasse-les-Etchemins-Lévis. The oil, the energy sector, and this construction, it's the Liberals abandoning us once again and abandoning the workers and going back on their promises. They promised to invest more in naval shipyards, but now they want to build ships abroad. And yet there are many naval shipyards that have the capacity and the expertise needed here in Canada. Mr. Speaker, will the minister responsible for procurement and supply respect the promise to have naval shipyards in Canada, build ships in Canada to create jobs here at home?
The Minister of Public Services and Procurement.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank my colleague for his question.
Remains committed to the national shipbuilding strategy. We want to see our ships built in Canada. That's exactly what we are doing. If there comes an occasion when we have to look, particularly on the defence front, in terms of tugs that are needed in the system, then we certainly may look at a more efficient, effective way of procuring those. But at this point in time, we are committed to building our ships in Canada.
Honourable Member for Outremont.
Speaker, I had the honour of going to La Loche yesterday and visiting with our extraordinary colleague, the member for Doneste, Mississippi, Churchill River. The pain in the community following the tragic shootings runs deep, but so do the scars of centuries of colonialism, racism, and indifference. I was told by elders how important it is to promote and protect their language and culture in the community, to provide hope and instill pride in young people. Since the Prime Minister committed to implementing every one of the Truth and Reconciliation recommendations, will the upcoming budget include funding to make good on this important commitment for Aboriginal languages?
The Honourable Minister of Indigenous and Northern Affairs.
I thank the member for his question, but also for his visit to La Loche. This is hugely important that community know that all Canadians are behind them, and we thank you for going, and I will go on Tuesday, and I too know how important language and culture is, together with the Minister of Heritage, who has in her mandate to protect language. I have the responsibility to make sure that is present in kindergarten to grade 12, and we will do that. And it is hugely important to secure personal cultural identity is essential to good health, education, and economic outcomes.
The Honourable Member for Outremont.
Thank the member. Minister. The TPP, Mr. Speaker, was secretly negotiated in the dying days of the Conservative government. Independent studies say tens of thousands of Canadians stand to lose their jobs. Those aren't just numbers. They're people's livelihoods, they're Canadian families. Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders have both come out against this deal. The Liberals are not only willing to accept a worse deal than the U.S., but they admit that they have no studies of its impact on Canadians. Will the Liberals commit to completing a thorough impact assessment and then making the study public?
Here, here.
The Honourable Minister of Agriculture.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We have been clear on our commitment to engage with Canadians before taking a final position on the TPP. In fact, this government has already held over nearly 200 consultations. But Canada needs to stay at the table, and that's why the Minister of Trade will sign today. Simply a technical step which will allow for full consideration of the deal. The only way the TPP can take effect is through ratification and a majority vote in this House. Thank you, Mr.
Speaker. The Honourable Member for Outremont.
Publishing an impact assessment. Le Premier ministre s'est fait élire en
The Prime Minister was elected on a promise to do things differently, and yet it is his government that today is signing an agreement that was negotiated in secret by the Conservatives. The Canadians will be directly affected by this agreement. Independent studies refer to 60,000 jobs lost here in Canada. Those are men, women, children, and entire communities that are affected. Why is the Prime Minister hell-bent on making the same mistakes as his Conservative predecessor? Liberals, Conservatives, it's all the same, Mr. Speaker.
The Secretary to the Minister of International Trade.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank the honourable member for Outremont for his question. The TPP kind of came along late in the election campaign, and we acted very responsibly in that regard. We said that we would study the agreement, and that's what we're doing. We have to do studies. We have to consult Canadians across the country, and that's exactly what we're doing, Mr. Speaker. Honourable member for Outremont. He said that studies must be done, so he's admitting that there are no studies done, and yet they're signing today. The economy is sluggish, and EI has also been the object of many promises.
Thousands of workers have lost their jobs. I sure hope he arrives as something more than hang in there, which we heard him say recently. Will the government ensure these workers and their families get the support they need by getting rid of the Conservative restrictions and extending employment insurance benefits? And will this be done immediately?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Minister of Employment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate the question and the sincerity of concern for working Canadians. Just like on this side of the House, our goal is to have a strong economy, and where we unfortunately see Canadians laid off, to provide a modernized employment insurance system that will be there for when they need it. Thank you.
The honourable member for Portage Lisgar.
Mr. Speaker, last week the Liberals introduced another layer of red tape for energy infrastructure, but what they actually are doing is severely shaking investors' confidence in Canada. In fact, Perrin Beatty, President and CEO of the Canadian Chamber of Commerce, said that good governance does not mean additional hurdles at the last minute, referring to the Liberal plan. When will the minister stop killing jobs with these delays, with all of this uncertainty, Mr. Speaker?
The Minister of Environment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank the honourable member for her question. As the Liberal Party knows well, the only way to get resources to market in the 21st century is to do it in a sustainable way. That is exactly what we're doing. We introduced principles last week, transitory principles that will reestablish the trust in Canadians in this process, and that is the way we will get resources to market. Thank you.
Now the member for Portage Lisgar.
What Mr. Beatty said in response to that plan was, when global businesses sit down and decide where to invest, the uncertainty and overly politicized nature of Canada's environmental regulatory process is a strike against us. Mr. Speaker, it's becoming clear that the government has put this process in place so that they can rubber stamp a no on good energy projects. Why else would they continue to torpedo Canadian jobs?
The Honourable Minister of Environment.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Je veux...
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank my colleague for her question. We know full well that the only way that we will be able to get resources to market is to do so responsibly. We have depoliticized the process by introducing provisional principles that will reestablish a Canadians' trust, and that is how we will be able to get resources to market.
The honourable member for Edmonton-Griesbach.
Mr. Speaker, on Monday, the Liberals voted against supporting the Energy East pipeline.
Shameful.
It's hard to imagine anyone, any MP from Edmonton, voting against safe and sustainable pipelines, but two of them did.
Shameful.
Where I come from, the energy industry is so respected, we even named our hockey team after it.
Yeah.
Mr. Speaker, will the infrastructure minister from Edmonton Millwoods tell Edmontonians why he did not support this shovel-ready, job-creating infrastructure project?
The Honourable Minister of Environment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I'd like to reiterate, unfortunately to the Conservatives, Canadians lost trust in our environmental assessment process. The only way we will get resources market is it reestablish the trust of Canadians. That is exactly what the Minister of Resources and I did last week by introducing transitory principles. Thank you.
The honourable member for Calgary Confederation.
Speaker, I'd like to read a quote. Rest assured, when elected, I will pound on the table on the need for pipelines. It is the safest to transport oil, and it's in the national interest. Who said this to gain votes during the election? The member from Calgary Centre. The member voted against a motion that would affirm this House's support for workers in the energy sector and pipeline development. When he did that, was he pounding on the table or was he selling out?
The Honourable Minister of Veterans Affairs.
Well, I thank the member for the question. I'm proud to be with a government who sees energy and the economy as two sides of the same coin. Here we have a time where Canadians have lost confidence in our system, and now we're reintroducing principles that will allow us to get access to markets, something that the former government failed miserably to do.
Edmonton Riverbend.
Mr. Speaker, when the Minister for Innovation, Science and Economic Development stood up and talked about his yet-to-be-announced investment plan, in typical Liberal fashion, he forgot about the West. This anti-energy Liberal government has gone out of its way to kill jobs in Western Canada. How can the Mississauga Minister for Alberta, who just voted to kill a shovel-ready job-creating pipeline, be trusted to do what's best for Western Canada?
The Honourable Minister of Innovation.
Mr. Speaker, we've been very, very clear when it comes to the economy. We have a strong growth agenda, and that agenda speaks to Canadians from coast to coast to coast, Mr. Speaker. We're creating a social contract when it comes to pipelines. We're working with the aerospace sector, the automotive sector, the life sciences sector, Mr. Speaker. We have a government that understands the importance of building strong relationships with industry to make sure we create high value-added, good quality jobs, Mr. Speaker, and that's what we'll continue to do for coming months to come.
The honourable member for Barrie Innisfil.
Mr. Speaker, meanwhile in Ontario, the once proud economic engine of Canada languishes as a have-not province under an incompetent Liberal government at Queen's Park. Wow. Ontario has 500,000 people looking for work. Young people like my kids face especially dismal job prospects. Add to that, Ontario is pressing forward with a job-killing payroll tax scheme that will cost 54,000 jobs. Mr. Speaker, is the government's plan to grow jobs in Ontario simply to hire Kathleen Wynne's staff to run the office of the Prime Minister? Is that all you got?
Minister of Economic Development.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to remind the member opposite that we have a government that understands the importance of working in collaboration with our provincial and municipal counterparts. And that's exactly what we're doing in Ontario, Mr. Speaker. We have made announcements for Southwest Ontario, for Northern Ontario, Mr. Speaker. We are making investments in the auto sector, Mr. Speaker. We understand the importance of manufacturing as well, Mr. Speaker. And we have a plan when it comes to growing the economy, Mr. Speaker, and that's what we'll continue to do in Ontario and across the country, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Abitibi James Nunavik. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We learned today that 1,000 claims for compensation for abuse at Indian residential schools were disqualified due to a technical loophole. This attitude flies in the face of reconciliation, Mr. Speaker, and yet Parliament made an official apology. The victims have suffered enough, and the government must be true to its intentions. What does the Minister of Justice intend to do to correct this shameful situation?
The Minister of Indigenous Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, the Government of Canada is committed to the success of the implementation of the agreement on the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, and it will honour its commitments thereunder. I have asked my department to examine these issues urgently. Thank you.
Member for Timmins, James Bay.
I'm not sure if the Honourable Minister heard the question. The question was to the Justice Department. What we've learned is that 1,000 victims of sexual and physical abuse from the residential schools had their cases thrown out on a legal, flimsy technicality, which is the children who are abused in institutions run by the government are not somehow eligible for compensation by the government. This travesty was conjured up in the Department of the Justice Department, and I'm asking the Minister, as their boss, Will she do the right thing? Will she tell this House that those cases will be reopened and that justice will be done? I'm asking her to answer for her officials.
Hear, hear. Honourable Minister of Indigenous Affairs.
Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, the member needs to know that my department is the client. That the Minister of Justice's department actually gives advice. I have asked my department to look into this, and we're going to look into it in a very serious manner right now.
Right, that's all.
The honourable member for Red Deer Lacombe.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday the Liberal House Leader got it wrong. He tried to justify his interference with citizenship judges and the Immigration and Refugee Board just because he didn't like who was appointed.
That is shocking.
Mr. Speaker, these people were already appointed, and he has no right to use his position to intimidate them. Judicial independence is paramount. These judges and tribunal members make rulings on matters between the government and Canadians. Will they now feel pressured to side with this new Liberal government in order to keep their jobs?
Let him resign.
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, the member knows full well that our letters to these members were about personnel matters and not about cases or files that were before them. It's an elementary thing that the Governor and Council can interact with the people that we appoint to different jobs on personnel matters, and the member should resist conflating those two issues in a way that's really irresponsible.
The member for Red Deer Lacombe.
Well, Mr. Speaker, it's clear the Government House Leader is getting to know the Ethics Commissioner far too well. We still remember his ethical challenges dating back to 2003. And then again this December, he was held responsible for illegal fundraising. So now he's trying to deliberately intimidate arm's-length bodies. Why won't the minister admit it was wrong to abuse his position by threatening judges and by trying to intimidate them? And how much further is he prepared to go?
He should resign.
Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, let's see how far that member is prepared to go. Is he prepared to go about 25 metres outside in the foyer and repeat those exact same comments? That would be interesting to see how far he is.
Honourable member for Lévis-Lobinière. Mr. Speaker, let's call a spade a spade. Political interference is political interference. When the Government House Leader communicated with the Immigration and Refugee Board judges, he was influencing their work. And identical cases have obliged other ministers to resign. How low are the Liberals prepared to stoop in interpreting ethical rules? The Honourable Government House Leader. Mr. Speaker, I'm going to tell you exactly where we're not going to go. We're not going to go where the former government went when it publicly attacked and systematically attacked the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Canada. Mr. Speaker, that's something that we will never do. The Honourable Member for Lévis-Lobinière. Mr. Speaker, as I just mentioned, political interference is political interference. We're not only talking about the Government House Leader here. In his own letter, he indicates that he is writing on behalf of the Prime Minister. Why does the Prime Minister feel that he has the right to openly interfere in affairs and matters of judges and quasi-judicial bodies? The Honourable Government House Leader. Mr. Speaker, thank you. You know, the government has decided that the way that those people were appointed to positions after the election is completely non-transparent and was an abusive process. And that is how the former government worked, Mr. Speaker. They tried to abuse a political appointment process, and that is why I wrote to those people on a matter of staffing and not a matter of substance. And the member knows that full well.
Well, the member for Essex.
Mr. Speaker, it's outrageous the government won't study the impacts of the TPP before signing on the dotted line. But we know the deal would have serious consequences for Canadians. Tens of thousands of jobs lost, higher drug costs, stifled innovation, rising inequality. We all know that if the minister didn't support this deal, she wouldn't sign it. Is the minister rushing to sign the deal to try to get it done before Canadians know how much it will hurt them?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of International Trade.
Mr. Speaker, I thank the honourable member for her question. The signing of the TPP is a technical step. The real important moment, Mr. Speaker, is the date of ratification. Before that decision is made, we will put this matter to Parliament. Parliamentary committee will study it. Canadians across the country will have a chance to pronounce on it, and we will undertake expert opinion. And therefore, we are doing precisely what we promised, Mr. Speaker, which is to study the accord properly before ratifying it.
The honourable member for Berthier-Masquinongé. Mr. Speaker, the economic situation is worrying Canadians. Good decisions are needed, but the government is insisting on signing an agreement that will cost us 60,000 jobs, increase inequality, and hurt our dairy producers. Mr. Speaker, the government hasn't even bothered to study the impacts of the Trans-Pacific Partnership, even though the stakes are so high. So how can the government justify signing an agreement that doesn't hold any promise for Canadians? Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of International Trade. Mr. Speaker, we will be signing exactly because it will give us the opportunity to study this complex agreement. Obviously, consultations took place. Certain sectors of the population are against it, some are for it. We will continue to consult people through the committee, and the Parliament here will have the last word.
The member for Kelowna Lake Country.
Mr. Speaker, dry conditions across the interior of British Columbia and throughout the western provinces in 2015 created significant hardships for our farmers. In my riding of Kelowna Lake Country and throughout Western Canada, we have some of the best farmers in the world who are focused on building a better future. Can the Minister of Agriculture inform the House what measures the government is taking to address the situation facing farmers affected by last year's drought?
The Honourable Minister of Agriculture.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank my colleague from Kelowna Lake Country for his question. Extreme weather created difficulties for Western Canadian livestock industry last summer. This week, our government released a list of additional regions for tax deferrals in many areas throughout the western provinces, which will help farmers focus on the future. Since taking office, we have announced over $50 million in cost-shared funding. Mr. Speaker, our government supports our hard-working farmers and ranchers. Thank you,
The honourable member for Charlebourg-Haute-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, the terrorist attacks that we've been seeing are increasing in number, and for weeks we've been hearing about a plan that's supposed to happen, but not a word have we had out of this government. The Minister of Defence told journalists that they've requested details about the plan from the Foreign Affairs Minister, who's currently meeting with allies in Rome. The government has put 3 ministers on this issue, so can't the Defence Minister present us with his plan?
Mr. Speaker, the attacks that are happening around the world is not just focused on one plan. First of all, I want to let the honourable member also know is that on a daily basis, our security agency are working in cooperation with our allies on many different attacks. Unfortunately, I can't divulge this information due to security issues. However, in terms of the actual plan for Operation Impact, it will be coming soon, and it will be a plan that Canadians can be proud of. Thank you.
The honourable member for Charlebourg-Haute-Saint-Charles. But, Mr. Speaker, the minister states in the National Defence Performance Report that the department will take part in coalition operations abroad. Can the minister tell us how he will help our allies and combat terrorism while withdrawing from the fight against the Islamic State?
Minister of National Defence. Mr. Speaker, we are not withdrawing from the fight against terrorism. Also, we are not withdrawing for the fight against ISIL. We will be enhancing our fight against ISIL, and when the plan comes out, it will be a plan that Canadians can be proud of. Thank you.
The member for Selkirk, Interlake, Eastman.
Mr. Speaker, instead of the Defence Minister talking about mistakes of the past, let's talk about mistakes of the present. Taking our CF-18s out of the air combat mission is a mistake.
His delays are a mistake. Incoherent comments are a mistake. Undermining Canada's reputation is a mistake. When will the Minister of Defence quit dithering, admit his mistakes, and finally give us the plan to fight ISIS?
Honourable Minister of National Defence.
Mr. Speaker, when it comes to the plan will be coming out soon. I can assure the member of that. When it comes to the stopping of the airstrikes, yes, our government is committed to that. However, we are committed to the fight, and I have done a thorough assessment by going into the region twice, meeting with commanders on the ground, speaking with my coalition partners, and to my partners also within the Iraqs and the northern the Kurds as well. And when the plan comes out, it will be a plan that Canadians can be proud of. Thank you.
Now the member for Selkirk Interlake Eastman.
Mr. Speaker, the first command ordered by Chief of Defence Staff Jonathan Vance was to establish Operation Honour to eliminate sexual misconduct in the military. General Vance explicitly stated this will require a cultural change within the armed forces. However, the Minister of Defence contradicted General Vance and said it's not the military culture per se that leads to sexual misconduct. Why is the minister making the mistake of brushing off the serious issue of sexual misconduct in the military?
Now, the Minister of National Defence.
Mr. Speaker, the Chief of Defence Staff, General Vance, and I are in lockstep with this. We have a zero tolerance for any type of sexual misconduct or any type of harassment, and we will stomp this out. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Laurier-Sainte-Marie. Mr. Speaker, the bombing mission against the armed group Islamic State that was initiated by the Conservatives will end in just a few weeks, and not only has the government not yet announced its new plan, but it seems that the plan might not be submitted to Parliament. Now, openness and transparency has to be more than a slogan. My question is for the Minister of National Defence. Will he put an end to the confusion and confirm that there will be a debate and a vote here in the House?
The Honourable Minister of National Defence.
Mr. Speaker, we have been consulting, as I said, first myself with my colleagues and the coalition. The plan will be discussed as to exactly the mechanism how that will also come out when we announce the plan. Thank you.
Now the member for Esquimalt, Saanich Sooke.
Mr. Speaker, the government promised to end the bombing mission in Iraq, yet it's still continuing. The government said it will come up with a new plan, and again, Canadians are still waiting. When the Minister of Defence was asked a simple question about whether there will be a vote in the House, yesterday he said, and I quote, "You can't just answer yes or no." Actually, we think that should be possible, so let me ask the Minister again. Will the Minister of Defence confirm that this House will hold a debate and a vote on the government's new mission in Iraq? Yes or no?
Now the Minister of National Defence.
Mr. Speaker, when it comes to the timeline for how long it's taken, Canadians expect us to get this right. When we send our men and women into harm's way, we need to make sure that the plan is right, and that when they go into dealing with in a high-threat environment, that we're going to look after their interests and making sure. And there will be a consultation. As to the consultation in the House, that will be announced when the announcement is made. Thank you.
Now the member for Calgary Nose Hill.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberals have likely irresponsibly promised to immediately remove the visa requirement on Mexico. Before making this statement, had the Minister's Department conducted a full, formal visa review on Mexico to assess whether or not conditions meet Canada's objective, evidence-based thresholds to safely grant a visa exemption? And if not, doesn't the Minister want to know the facts from a formal visa review before deciding whether it's in Canada's best interest to immediately grant a visa exemption?
The Honourable Minister of Immigration.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. And as my colleague across the aisle probably knows, this was in our platform to remove the visa. This is a major step in improving Canada-Mexico relations. I have been in consultation with my department on the issues involved in this. We have been studying it carefully, and I am pleased to report that the Foreign Affairs Minister had a very positive meeting recently with his Mexican and American counterparts.
The honourable member for Calgary-Nose Hill.
Mr. Speaker, I'll take it that that was a political decision and not an evidence-based decision. Anyways, Mr. Speaker, with regard to today's American Senate hearing on Canada's fast-track refugee initiative, how many times has the minister's agency briefed the U.S. Department of Homeland Security on this issue? And, Mr. Speaker, if the minister is so confident on the integrity of this process, why are they boycotting this hearing by refusing to send senior officials to represent Canadian interests?
The Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, the short answer is we're accountable in this House and not in the U.S. Senate. That's how Canadian accountability works. However, Ambassador Doer was in touch with the Senate to confirm what the U.S. government has been told in repeated briefings right from day one. That is, Canada has layers of security screening work in place that are working very effectively under the guidance of Immigration and Refugees Canada, the Canada Border Services Agency, CSIS, and the RCMP. The system is strong, and there will be no compromise on safety.
The honourable member for Markham-Unionville.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberal government has been eager to make promises without plans. The refugees resettlement plan is failing. Health workers volunteering with Syrian refugees are confused about how many refugees are coming, what sort of care they will need, and who is going to foot the bill. Mr. Speaker, when is this Liberal government going to provide a real plan that works for refugees? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister of Immigration.
Speaker, I'm pleased to say we have a real plan, and it is evolving as it ought to evolve. We are now at close to 16,000 refugees. We will hit our target of 25,000 by the end of February. The refugees are settling across the country. I just read a story about a wonderful case of 2 Syrian refugees working in a New Brunswick restaurant where they had not been able to find anyone who could cook the Middle Eastern food, and they are doing fantastically well in New Brunswick with a job already.
Honourable member for Madawaska-Restigouche. Mr. Speaker, speaking of New Brunswick, people in Madawaska-Restigouche are concerned about the economic situation, and they want to know how they can communicate their concerns and opinions. Next week, I will be holding public meetings in Edmundston and Campbellton, and I'm inviting constituents to share their ideas and suggestions. Can the Minister of Finance tell the House about other ways that Canadians and Acadians can participate in the budget process?
Finance.
The Honourable Minister of Finance. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank the member for Madawaska-Restigouche for his question. I am proud to say that our department is leading the most open consultations on the upcoming budget in history. We have 3,500 formal submissions, and that's many times what has been received in the past. And people can go onto our website and participate. The Honourable Member for Beauport-Limoilou. Mr. Speaker, on the Ombudsman's recommendation, the Conservative Parliament promised to issue a personal identification card for all veterans. It would be provided when people leave the forces, regardless of how long they've served. But today, the government is considering stopping producing the old card, which isn't a specific card. Now, can the government assure people that it will replace the old card immediately? The Honourable Minister of Veterans Affairs.
The member for his question. I'm also the Associate Minister of National Defence, and that means I'm working hard with my partners in National Defence to look at ways that we can do to ensure there's a seamless transition in between National Defence and Veterans Affairs. We're identifying those possibilities where we can work forward and to allow for our veterans, in fact, our people serving, to get the systems they need in place. Thank you for the question.
The Honourable Member for Rosemont-la-Petite-Patrie. Mr. Speaker, this morning Quebecers got bad news. That is that Rona, one of our economic powerhouses, will be sold to an American company, which is saying reassuring things about keeping the headquarters and jobs here. The government has a mandate to look at foreign takeovers and review them, approve them, or reject them. Is the minister committed to reviewing this transaction to make sure that jobs will be protected and making the review public? The Honourable Minister of Economic Development.
I'd like to thank the member opposite for the question. As the member opposite knows, that the shareholders need to review this particular transaction. The Competition Bureau will also look at this particular investment transaction as well, Mr. Speaker. And as per the Investment Canada Act, any amount over $600 million does trigger a net benefit analysis. We will make sure we follow that process, Mr. Speaker. We will always look what's in the best interest of Canadians, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for New Brunswick Southwest.
Mr. Speaker, Lyme disease is a serious issue. I've listened to several constituents coping with the debilitating symptoms and treatment challenges.
Can the health minister inform the House of the government's intentions to help prevent infections and about any effective treatment for Lyme disease? Honourable Health Minister.
Mr. Speaker, Lyme disease does have a devastating impact on families and communities. We welcome the passing of Bill C-442, an act respecting a federal framework on Lyme disease, and very much look forward to developing that federal framework along with our partners, stakeholders, including patient groups. We are working to deliver a robust conference this coming May, which will help shape the federal framework. The Public Health Agency of Canada has also developed an action plan on Lyme disease to build awareness of the risks and better track the disease, as well as investing in more research. Thank you.
There you go. The Honourable Member for Wellington, Halton Hills.
Mr. Speaker, my question is for the Minister of Justice. She's the Attorney General of Canada and the Chief Law Officer of the Crown, responsible for upholding the rule of law at all times. Last June, Parliament passed the Reform Act. As a result, Section 49.8 of the Parliament of Canada Act required her and her cabinet colleagues to vote in 4 separate recorded votes last November 5th, determining which powers the Prime Minister would have. Did she and her cabinet colleagues comply with the law? Did they vote 4 times in 4 separate recorded votes last November 5th?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank my colleague for the question. I want to tell him that many of us on this side supported the Reform Act. I myself voted for it, and I want to assure the House and the member that at all times, everyone on this side complied with all legislation.
The Honourable Member for Pierre Boucher, Les Patriotes Verchères. Mr. Speaker, Lowe's, an American hardware giant, has offered $3.2 billion to buy Rona. Now, Rona is supplied by many suppliers from Quebec, Garant Shovels, Quebec lumber producers. According to the Canada Investment Act, the Minister of Industry can approve this transaction, reject it, or impose conditions. We know that the Minister will follow the process. So what is he going to do concretely to protect suppliers and keep the headquarters in Boucherville?
Economic Development.
Mr. Speaker, as I had mentioned before, the Competition Bureau will look at this particular transaction. The shareholders have to also look at this particular transaction. And when it comes to the federal government, the responsibility that I have, as per the Investment Canada Act, there's a process in place, there's resources in place to do a proper net benefit analysis, and we will do that, Mr. Speaker, because it's very, very important that we follow this process in the best interest of Canadians, Mr. Speaker.
Today, Parliament marks the 100th anniversary of the Great Fire, February 3rd, 1916, which ravaged most of the original centre block. On that night, as the new Deputy Speaker, Edgar Nelson Rhodes of Nova Scotia, was in the chair presiding over the House for the first time, a fire broke out in the Commons reading room. The fire grew to a raging blaze that would claim 7 lives. Mr. Bowman Brown Law, MP, representative of the County of Yarmouth, Nova Scotia. Mr. J.B.R. Laplante, Assistant Clerk, House of Commons. Madame Mabel Morin and Mrs. Florence Bray, who were guests of Speaker of the House, Albert Sévigny. Mr. Randolph Fanning of the Post Office Department. Mr. Alphonse Desjardins, of the Public Works Department, and his nephew, also Monsieur Alphonse Desjardins, of the Dominion Police Force. We are honored that descendants of some of those individuals are here with us in the gallery today. Le lendemain matin,
by the morning following the fire, the entire building, except for the northwest wing and the library, had been reduced to still smoldering ruins.
Of librarian Michael Connolly McCormick, credited for closing the library's iron doors, this beautiful space and its thousands of irreplaceable books would have also been lost. La masse de la Chambre des Communes.
The House of Commons mace was also destroyed in the blaze, and when the House met in the Victoria Memorial Museum, current home of the Canadian Museum of Nature, at 3 p.m. on February 4th, 1916, in the immediate aftermath of the fire, the Senate lent the House its own mace as a replacement.
Belonging to the Ontario legislature was used until a temporary mace made of wood was fashioned. That wooden mace was preserved and is being used in the chamber today, as it has been since 1977, every February the 3rd. La masse de bois sera.
After today, the wooden mace will be displayed in the foyer of the House of Commons as a tangible reminder of the Great Fire of 1916 and an important tribute to the continuity of our parliamentary history.
I invite all honorable members to join me and our honored guests after question period in room 216 North, where the curator of the House of Commons will provide a historical review of the Great Fire. It being 3:17 p.m., pursuant to order made on Tuesday, February 2nd, 2016, the House will now proceed to the taking of the deferred recorded division on the motion of Ms. Malcolmson relating to the business of supply. All the members. The question is as follows. Ms. Malcolmson, seconded by Ms. Trudell, moved that the House, A, recognize that the government must take action to close the unacceptable gap in pay between men and women, which contributes to income inequality and discriminates against, shall I dispense? No, I hear no. And discriminates against women. B, recognize pay equity as a right. C, call on the government to implement the recommendations of the 2004 Pay Equity Task Force report and restore the right to pay equity in the public service, which was eliminated by the previous Conservative government in 2009. And D, appoint a special committee with the mandate to conduct hearings in the matter of pay equity and to propose a plan to adopt a proactive federal pay equity regime, both legislative and otherwise. And one, that this committee consists of 10 members, which shall include 6 members from the Liberal Party,
3 members from the Conservative Party and 1 member from the New Democratic Party, provided that the chair is from the